We've spoken about it already. Evacuating people from Afghanistan at this hour is still a huge logistical challenge. The U.S. and its allies are trying to move thousands of people a day with just one runway. It's prompted criticism. They should not have been so quick to actually cede control of facilities like Bagram Airfield, a massive compound some 40 kilometers north of Kabul. We will get to the debate about whether that should have stayed open in a moment, but that's really only half the problem. As Clarissa just explained, getting to the airport in Kabul means running that gauntlet of Taliban checkpoints. Wednesday night, the U.S. Embassy warned it can no longer ensure safe passage. And meantime, a Dutch plane, for example, actually had to leave Kabul with no passengers on board. Mark Kimmitt is a retired U.S. Army Brigadier General who was Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs under George W. Bush. He joins us now from Washington. From a security perspective, operationally, with your experience, what more can be done? What more should have been done? Because we just went through a briefing, really, today, both from the Pentagon and the State Department, very unsatisfactory in terms of them being able to find a solution to this.
Well, listen, I don't want to criticize my fellow soldiers that are out there doing a pretty tough job. One observation, though, would be we have seen this in non-combatant evacuation operations before, a NEO operation. That's a pretty big airport, and it would strike me that there would have been able to bring in a group of people and put them in a containment area before they checked their documents, but at least get them on the other side of the gate so that they were away from the Taliban. Look, the concern is valid. There were many, many times at our checkpoints in Baghdad and elsewhere where a car would get into the middle of all the other vehicles, try to get in, and with 20 vehicles surrounding it, ignite an IED. So it's not out of the question that they are taking the proper security measures, but these seem to be a little bit excessive.
Yeah, incredibly excessive. And I do want to get back quickly to that point about Bagram. Some people have said, okay, there's 2 airfields there. You and I have been there. That is not a pleasant trip for anyone, and it is incredibly difficult to secure. Some people have suggested, though, that they still should have done it and that they shouldn't have handed it over the way they did several weeks ago.
No, that's right. And again, Paula, it's hard to criticize from 6,000 miles away. I think if the people on the ground would have known that the situation would have deteriorated this bad, we probably would not have closed Bagram. So we had an alternate airfield, one for commercial traffic, one for military traffic. Obviously, with 2 times the ramp space, we would have been getting people in and out. But it is pretty far away from Kabul to get over to Bagram airfield. But with what we know now, Monday morning quarterbacking, it would have been great to have Bagram still secured as we're running this NEO operation.
Which brings us very clearly to the point of what was known, what intelligence knew, or what the military knew and could have told Joe Biden. There have been blunt statements in recent days from both the president and U.S. military commanders. I want you just to listen to a couple of those for a moment.
We trained and equipped an Afghan military force with some 300,000 strong. Incredibly well equipped.
There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this army and this government in 11 days.
Now, I want to point out that you pointed out hours before Kabul fell to the Taliban that it was only a matter of time, your words, until the Taliban got to the gates of Kabul, and that there wouldn't be the fighting on the street, you said, but that perhaps there could be some kind of a national unity government, and that the Taliban had no reason to take Kabul militarily if they could take it politically. In terms of what you saw coming, why do you believe that at this point in time we still have all of really that pleading from both the military and the president to us to try and get us to understand why there's no way we should have seen this coming?
Well, first of all, it was pretty apparent by the time I made that statement. It was easy to make that statement because they were pretty much less than 100 miles from Kabul. So while I may have looked prescient at the time that I made it, I really wasn't. And the government did step down.
Okay, but the military commanders in your chair right now should have known that surely as well.
Paula, the fact is that we expect too much from our intelligence professionals. You're asking them to get inside the minds of commanders on the ground. You're asking to get into the minds of individual soldiers. They are intelligence professionals. They don't have crystal balls. Is this an intelligence failure? By some definition, people would say it is. I would just say we expect too much. This is not a Jason Bourne movie where they have huge numbers of screens and everything is known to everybody. It's a tough business out there. Nobody would have expected this collapse. This is a black swan military event. We haven't seen a military rout like this since France in 1940, and candidly, Iraq when ISIS attacked in 2009, so 2014. So I just don't think it's as obvious to the Monday morning quarterbacks as some would suggest.
And definitely, though, your words definitely give us pause for thought, right, at the limits, as you said, of what intelligence is. I think there is a point to be made, though, about contingency planning. Mark Kimmitt, retired U.S. Army Brigadier General, really appreciate your insights here as they are informative.
Sure, Paula, thanks.